Right. So the second topic here, I am going to talk about my thoughts on, or as a content creator and listening to the fans or the viewers. Okay. Um, I don't think I got a fan base, to be honest with you. I mean, I have people who check out this podcast when they do. Um, and if there is a fan base, they're very quiet. They might be like me, but they very quiet because they don't necessarily speak on it. And I know at the end of every year, I do my podcast rap results with Spotify, and I pretty much share the news and stuff, and I'm grateful for all that. And I can't wait to see what the numbers are looking like for this year. That's my favorite episode. As I've mentioned in the past, that's literally my favorite episode of every single year for the podcast. I look forward to doing those episodes every year that I do this podcast. So this year is no different. But as far as just my thoughts on fans and content creators in general, and should we, this is going to be a two-in-one per se. I might have to split it up for the video watchers out there because I know a lot of y'all got short attention spans. But for the audio listeners, I'm just going to, because I have it here in my notes, um, dumbing down content to appease dumbasses with very low attention spans. And I'm not going to reword that. That's how I said it. And IQs. Also, I have should creators listen to their fans? Okay. Now, like I said, I might do a two-in-one here, or I might, depending on how I feel, I might split it up. But as far as answering that first statement, which was so eloquently written by me, let me read it again for the dumbasses out there. The dumbing down of content to appease dumbasses with very low attention spans and IQs. That guy's a great writer, whoever wrote that. Anyways, um, how do I feel about that? If it wasn't obvious within the statement, I think it should be obvious now. I'm not with it. I personally don't like that people, and I don't even think a lot of these folks are fans. They're just viewers. And that's why I say there's a difference between a fan of somebody and a viewer of somebody. Simply because you might view somebody's content does not mean that you're a fan. I know the fans and know that. I know even viewers know that. I know people who just view content know it. If you are a fan of somebody, you like what they do. Now, I'm not gonna say you like every single thing that they do. You know what I'm saying? Me, I always use the example of music because I'm a music lover. I have a separate podcast where I talk about music. I listen to albums, just songs in general, and it's typically from artists that I'm a fan of. And anyone who knows me, you will know that I don't necessarily like every single thing every artist that I'm a fan of does. It just happens. There are certain artists who they still haven't missed yet, and I pray they never do. But there are certain artists that I'm a fan of who have more hits than misses, but they have misses. So I'm not saying being a fan of someone means you have to like everything they do, but it means when they do, there's something about them that keeps you being a fan, that keeps you rooting for them, that keeps you looking forward to whatever content that they put out. You know, a viewer is just someone who maybe saw something you did once, twice, maybe even 10 times. All right. And they stick around just to see if you're going to do more of that one thing. And if you don't do it, they don't necessarily support you, or they complain and say, do more of that one thing that my one self likes. You have to appease me. Do more of that one thing and just only do that, and then I'll have you'll have me as a fan, not some viewer or whatever the case is. Now, I'm not here to say, it might seem as though I'm painting viewers to be like totally terrible people. as opposed to fans. Um, I'm not saying one is I better or less of a good person or whatever than another person. I'm just saying I can identify the difference between the two. And there's the two. It's very hard to differentiate the difference between the two, honestly, because they have very similar personality traits, or just they pretty much do the same thing. They look, tune into your content, and they might be they might like certain things about you. But again, the fans are going to understand that you, as an artist, as a content creator, you have your way of doing things, and they have an understanding that even if they don't necessarily like certain sides, or it doesn't gravitate toward them, let me put it that way, that other side of your artistry, your content creation, doesn't necessarily gravitate toward them, they still are a fan of what you do, because it's much more deeper than just please me because my attention span can only last for 60 seconds, and anything above 60 seconds, I'm going to hate on it. You know, this is something that I brought up because I've seen myself go through it, but I've also seen people that I view and I'm a fan of go through it as well. There's this one guy, shout out, I'm gonna shout him out because he's typically just a great guy and he's funny as well. He's a smaller channel, so of course I feel the need to shout him out on YouTube. Straw Hat Supremacy, right? Or Straw Hat, is it Straw Hat Supremacy or Straw Hat Universe? Either or. For the video watchers out there, you're going to see his name posted, but I think he makes pretty good content. It's very much on the shorter side. He does skits, right? He just started sharing his opinions on things just a couple weeks ago. I was someone who commented on a video on his video and said I would like to know more of your stuff, more of your views on stuff like this. But don't stray away from the skits. Now, if I was a viewer, viewers have this mindset of, oh, I only like, let's just say if I was just a viewer of his and not necessarily a fan of everything he does, right? And that's another way you can pretty much differentiate. I want to say differentiate, but that's another way you can differentiate a fan from a viewer. A fan is going to, if you're a content creator, especially, a fan is typically going to, again, they're not going to like everything, but if you do branch out and do something else on your channel, or, whatever the case is, or if you're a podcaster, right, content type, that's the type of content you make. And let's just say you typically are a sports podcaster, and you typically pay attention to the men's sports, right? Men's professional sports. But then you've developed an interest not just for the men, but for the women as well when it comes to professional sports. And now you're covering sports like the WNBA, the women's tennis league as well, maybe women's football, as in soccer, but or just maybe if lingerie football, I don't know, but you're paying more so attention to women's professional sports as well, and you started covering that on your YouTube channel, your podcast, wherever you cover these things. A fan, not saying that they have to like it, but they might say, you know what, I came here for your sports opinions, and therefore, yeah, you got me because you primarily talk about men's sports, the sport that I'm into. I might not be into women's professional sports, but I'm into your content, and therefore I'm sticking around to view your content, because I'm a fan of you. A viewer would be like, I only came here for your takes on men's sports. And now that you're talking about men and women's sports, I'm either going to unsubscribe, or I'm only going to watch when you talk about men's sports. Again, not saying that that individual is wrong. People have their own taste. But A fan is more so open and accepting to the people that they are a fan of to expand and branch out. Viewers are not. If viewers are not open, they come to you for the one thing, and if you don't do that one thing, they're out. Um, Viewers are also people who feel the need, and this is where I am going to get on viewers, where y'all feel the need to try to tell us what's best for our own creativity when you ain't got a creative bone in your body at all. And even if you do have a creative bone in your body, you would know that telling a creative what to do in the manner that you do it, you deserve a slapping for it. Verbal, y'all. Verbal. We're not violent over here, but you deserve a verbal slapping for it. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't go around telling people, creatives, how to do things or with this, that, and the third, or that their mind, because as a creative, it's like our mind is our greatest weapon to us and we cherish it. So when we decide we want to do something, and again, you might be a creative writer like myself, you're creative in other fields like I do, or just creative in the sense of content creation. Nonetheless, there is a creative aspect to what you do. So consider yourself a creative. All right. You know what I'm saying? Or at least I consider you a creative. So that's why I'm considering you as a creative head. But you know that, and other creators can vouch for me if they want to, but you know that when people tell you how to do things or what to do, it's just, it feels like a slap in the face, and that's why I said that you should slap them, because it felt like a slap in the face. You shouldn't obviously hit somebody for doing something like that. It's stupid. You don't put hands on someone. It is stupid, but don't put hands on someone for doing something stupid as that. Slap them with a block, slap them with a mute, or just simply ignore them. Slap them with kindness and just still say at the end of the day, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for checking it out in the first place. Thanks for your feedback. And you don't even have to mean it. You don't even have to mean it. But saying that, thanking them with, slapping them with kindness, that's going to do a lot better. It's better than just actually slapping them in real life, and you ruining your freedom or whatever the case is, catching the case simply because someone said something goofy. You know, even if the advice wasn't necessarily seen as goofy, the very aspect of it is. And I kind of lost my train of thought. I brought up straw hat. So I'm going to go back to it, but the reason why I'm talking about this, and I brought up Straw Hat in the past, well, a few minutes or so ago, it's because there was one video he did. Okay. He did one video where he was doing a skit. I thought it was just another funny skit. I enjoyed the skit. The skit was maybe about a minute and 6 seconds long. Now, a lot of his skits, his content in general, even the stuff where he's sharing his opinion, the longest video I've ever seen of his was like maybe what, 2 minutes? It could be maybe 2, 3 minutes, but the average amount of time for this man's videos are less than a minute or about a minute or a little over a minute. Nothing is barely over 2 minutes. And yet this 1 minute and 6 second video got a comment from someone, a low IQ motherfucker or a low attention span having ass nigga, who was like, "Oh man, your videos would be so much better if you just made them 60 seconds." I'm sitting here like, bro, if you said that comment to me with these long ass videos that I got, a comment like that would make sense on my video. A comment like that on Straw Hats or anybody else's video who makes videos that are 60 seconds in length for the most part is wild. It's wild to me. The low amount, the attention span that people have is laughable. So to answer the question, finally, right? At whatever the minute mark is here now for you low attention span having ass niggas. Whatever the attention span, whatever the time is here now. Should we lower our quality or our attention span to please you? I mean, I already said it before, but I'm gonna say it again. No. I might even, you know what? Let me take a sip because I'm gonna annoyingly say I'm in this room. This room got echoes. Ooh, because I want y'all to hear this reverb. I'm gonna annoy the fuck out of y'all like y'all annoying me. No, no, I am not going to lower the quality of my videos, the length of my videos. Now, do I want them to be super duper de duper long? No. And I'm working on that. That's something I've been telling myself for years. But like, especially now, since I'm now producing more videos on YouTube because I have multiple channels now. So it's like, yeah, I do want to not take up 50 minutes of people's times, especially if I have at the moment 3 channels, and one is for this podcast, the other one is for my other podcast, and then the other one is just personally about me in general. The guy behind the podcast, the guy aside from being an author, just me in general, all those things, just me in general. Yeah, I do want to be respectful of people's times. So I don't want to make it seem as though it's like, fuck your time, nigga. Like, no, it's not that, but it's definitely fuck your attention span if you are not a fan. See, I can differentiate a fan from a viewer. And again, I don't want to make it seem as though one person is worse than the other, but fans definitely do get more of a special treatment than someone who is just a straight up viewer. I got people who only view me or view my video whenever I talk about Caitlin Clark. And that's why those views go up. Or whenever I talk about politics and they want to talk about how they want to, boast about their favorite politician. They want to continue the duopoly of the two-party system. They want to complain about that, so they want to go over there and thumbs down the videos and comments. None of that shit matters, by the way. Views are views are view. That's how I view it. So thanks for watching, killing you with kindness or slapping you with kindness. But you know yeah, I got viewers like that who only want to see me talk about certain topics. Thing is, how my mind works, you're going to get episodes like this where I'm talking about things outside of politics. And then there are going to be topics like what's looking like next week's, where it's going to be heavily based on politics and things that's happened within the world relating to politics. That's just your warning right now. If you happen to be listening or watching this right now, next week's episode is going to be political heavy. So if that's not the content you're not into, I'm not saying get into it, but I'm going to say that you might want to skip next week's episode, or you might not. I fans of mine, if you're an actual fan, fans are going to want to know what I think about the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, Joe Biden no longer running, and Kamala Harris being in his place. They're gonna want to know that. Or if you again want to know my political thoughts, or you just happen to be a random viewer, you're gonna want to know these thoughts. All right. So there is that. But I don't think I have to split. I don't know. We'll see how much time, because I do want to get into my second part. Should let me go in my notes. Should creators listen to their fans? Now, keyword, I said fans. And the answer to that is yes, but only to a comfortable at a level of, for the creator, pretty much. As I stated before, we are content creators. We are creators in general. Creatives are very sensitive about their work. They're sensitive about their process. They're very meticulous and sensitive about the content that they make. You, as a viewer or even a fan, you might not be aware of that. But I'm telling you, as a creator, that is how we are. More probably not as, and there are probably some creators out there who aren't as sensitive about that stuff as I am. Because I can tell you, I'm very sensitive about it. If you were to try to tell me you should do this, that, and the third, and you are in no way, shape, or form a creator in the very field that I create in, like I said, I'm gonna want to slap you. I'm not going to, but I'm gonna want to slap you. So I'm gonna just slap you with silence. I'm gonna slap you with, well, thanks for watching, reading, whatever the case is, listening. But I'm gonna want to slap you because you don't know necessarily what went into creating this. You don't necessarily know. And even if myself or other creators explain to you, some people get it. Not everyone's a dumbass out there. And that's the thing. I titled the thing the way that I did, but not everyone's a dumbass out there. If you're not a dumbass, you don't offended when you hear the word dumbass. It's just that's just how it is. But you don't know what a creator's comfortability is. And even when we tell you what it is, people still get this idea of, oh, it's so easy to do because so and so does it. Well, it doesn't look uncomfortable. You should be used to being on camera doing this, or you should be used to doing whatever. You've been doing this for X amount of years, so you should be comfortable doing anything creative, right? People think I'm funny. Listen, case in point, this is a real life example I'm using. Case in point, people think I'm funny. I'm glad y'all think I'm funny. For those who think I'm funny, if you don't think I'm funny, I don't care. Okay. I think I'm funny too. But people think I'm funny. This was on one of the content creating apps that I used to be on. This app no longer exists, so I'm just going to say the name anyways. Or they rebranded to something else, but it was called Rizzle at the time, right? So I went on there and I pretty much was on there. I talked about it on this podcast before. But I was pretty much doing what I do here on this podcast, but on a much more shorter form, and I was making a lot more money there, by the way. But anyways, much more shorter form, so a lot less time and a lot more money. But I would go on there, and I got friends on there. I've made some friends on there too. We still connect, but I've went on there and I've had friends who, they've done skits and they wanted me to be a part of the skits, and I was a part of their skit, right? The great thing about that app, you didn't necessarily need to be in the same city, country, whatever, as someone to be able to make videos with them. So we've made skits and people saw and they were like, wow, he's real funny. One guy commented and was like, I want to see you do more of that. All right, pretty much. And then others was pretty much, you should just do skits, right? Again, I appreciate the fact that people find me to be funny, humorous, whatever the case is, entertaining to the point where they want to see me do skits. But am I comfortable as a creator? Am I the type of content creator that I'm comfortable with doing skits all the time? If that answer was a yes, this entire YouTube channel for the YouTube viewers out there would have been that. Have you ever seen me do a skit on YouTube? Yeah, there's the old videos. I still have the old videos on here before I transitioned this to the Earnest Thoughts podcast, but I kept those old videos up. Those old videos are here. They are still on this channel. You can go check them out. One thing I will say is none of those videos are skits. I might be humorous and making jokes and all this other stuff, laughing and giggling and cackling, but I do that in everything that I do. Humor is a part of my creative process, even on serious topics. Now, if it's super, super duper serious, yeah, like you're not gonna get the jokes. You might get a little sarcastic comic here or there, but you're not gonna get necessarily jokes. But I like to present things in a humorous way. Humor mixed with some seriousness. or healthy doses of both, or 30/70, you know what I'm saying? But or 60/40 at times. It could be 60 serious, 40 comedy, and vice versa. But um either or, that's just how I do things. Simply because that's how I do things, though, does not mean that I want to be a comedian. I want to, or just making skits is my thing. Again, I have zero. Well, if it feels right, I have zero problems saying yes to a friend and, you know, acting in a skit or so. You know what I'm saying? If it feels right, making an impression of some or whatever, right? If it feels right, I'm gonna say yes to it. Even if it wasn't like a friend, if someone were to reach out to me and was like, I think you like you should play this role or whatever the case is, I will have to again look into whatever that thing is. And if it feels right, if it feels yeah, then you might see me in that. If not, it's a no. Cause that's not the thing that I create. And simply because you see someone do something one time and you enjoy it that much, you're like, you should do. Now, there's a difference between telling someone that they should do it more. Well, that still sucks. Don't say that. But you are to you can like what you like. Again, nothing wrong with that. But if you're expecting someone who is mostly serious, or at least mostly talks about serious things, to then give all of that up to appease you because you might be one of the maybe two or three or even five, or even if it was 500 individuals that said, we want to see more skits from you. We want less politics, more skits, right? If that y'all were to say that, and yet I amassed the fan base because of my political takes and all the other stuff, you're just a viewer at the end of the day. And you're either going to stick around and only watch skits, or you're just going to not stick around at all because I didn't kowtow to your demand of giving up what I created this podcast for in the first place to do skits, when there are plenty of content creators who do that. But they're not you, and I want to see you do it. That's so sweet, but nah, that's not me either. What is me is what you see. It's what I put out there. And the same goes for any other content creator out there. What is them is the content that they make that they're comfortable putting out there. Even the ones who understand that, because there are content creators who do this, who understand that there's certain content that sells, right? And they have to do certain things in order to get views and money, this, that, and the third. Um, so they end up doing this specific type of content, but they're not really like that, right? Other examples, I'm not going to name this lady's name, but she talks a lot about finance. um and I guess how she talked about it was short, very short form, and it's very like informal, right? But and of course she got views for it and all this other stuff. But then she made the transition from short form to longer form, and it was very formal because in her heart, that's how she wants to present the information. But she was going based off of what the views said. The views and the numbers said you have to be short and you have to be silly. And I'm not talking about stature wise, physically short or physically silly or whatever, but your videos have to be short and they have to be non-serious. Even if you're talking about a serious topic like politics, finances, whatever the case is, right? Now, I'm not hating on anybody who decides to go the short, silly route. It's easy. Well, I mean, it's easy as far as time to create these things. You can create those things in bulk. Again, when I was on the app Rizzle, I was able to do a lot in bulk because the videos were like 60 seconds. It helped me a lot with not being able to ramble on, or at least on that app, because clearly it didn't help me on YouTube or any of the other platforms where you can listen to this podcast, because there's no time restriction, or at least there's no well, yeah, there isn't necessarily a time restriction. If I want to make this video 24 hours long, it can be 24 hours long. I ain't gonna do that. Absolutely not. I don't even want it to be an hour long. I hope it hasn't been that long, because it's a lot of editing for me to do. But as far as the restrictions and like as far as the short content, yeah, if it's 60 seconds or less, you can create bulks of that, and you can create content for days. You know what I'm saying? You could film an entire month's worth of work in one day. Not even one full day, just one afternoon, even one morning, one evening, one day, half a day even. You could film like an entire month's worth of content, simply because of how short those videos are, right? And you can hire someone to edit them if you're not doing the editing, whatever the case is, right? But it's easy. That's what I mean by it's easy. What isn't easy is what I do. I might make it look easy. It's because I look good. So I look good doing anything. But I might make it look easy, but it's not easy. Being yourself, making the type of content that you are comfortable making, and then having dumbasses comment and make it seem as though you're doing something wrong because you're not doing the easily digestible content. And that's no disrespect for the short form people out there, but it is very easily digestible. As far as just all I have to do is sit, stare at my phone like a fucking moron and do this: swipe, 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 swipe. But for me, you have to actually sit down and listen. People don't like to listen or think. So, yeah, my shit is hard. Only because people make it hard in a sense that they don't want to take the time. And it may be because I talk too slow. You need to read. Come on, man. Oh, man. Listen, I can't. I don't like the way my voice sounds when I talk fast. That's what it is. And also, I'm gonna trip up more. If you think I trip up already, I'm gonna trip up a lot more when I talk fast. It's gonna be a lot more if I talk fast. A lot of the that was happening earlier on when I podcast was a mixture of nervousness, lack of being prepared, and me trying to talk fast simply because I didn't want to I didn't want to disappoint viewers like you who would be turned away if I talked in my normal register, which is this tone. It might be slow to you. It's soothing to others. To me, as long as I get my point across, I'm satisfied. As long as I'm comfortable doing and saying the things that I say, I am satisfied. And it's all about creator comfort. I can't even say comfortability. That word that you're going to see on the screen to the visual watchers out there and the audio listeners, you know what word I'm talking about. Okay, so just act like I said it. All right, it's all about me being comfortable. At the end of the day, it might be a situation where I just want to joke. I'm comfortable with that. I swear to goodness, this Facebook notification that I just got, I'm a side swipe. This Facebook notification I just got, I'm doing a Patreon video on. Patreon exclusive for the Earnest Thoughts podcast, this podcast. Because this situation right here, man, whew, and it's a Patreon exclusive because it's going to be a long one. I believe it's going to be a long video, but I'm going to screen share some information about some clothing and they're going to get named. Anyways, so I already said more than I should have admitted to, but Patreon exclusive. All right. Anyways, that's in the description box below. But as I was saying, man, yeah, I think it's sad that we as consumers of content have gotten to the and not saying we as in if not me, but you, if this sounds like you, but we have gotten to the point where we're now even telling people who make videos that are a minute long or a little over a minute that they still need to shorten it to something less than a minute. I think that it's weird. Now he's gotten he being Straw Hat has gotten comments on like the quality of the video as well. I ain't gonna lie, it looks like it was filmed on an old Android phone, and this is coming from an Android user. I ain't gonna lie, but I'm not that fickle to the point where it's like, ew, Android video. I know an Android user when I see one. I'm not that fickle to the point where I'm going to say, no, I'm going to not subscribe or whatever because the video quality isn't crispy clear. No, I like his content, whether it's on an old Android phone, whether it's on the latest iPhone or the latest Android phone, whether it's on the latest laptop on Zoom or whatever the case is. If your content is good, it's good. And nobody should have to dumb down their shit because you are dumbass. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. I would love to know your thoughts. Ooh. So feel free to leave a comment. Audio listeners, y'all have the ability to comment too. You know what I'm saying? That's some of the changes that I'm going to talk about next week. Because I'm gonna have to apologize to Spotify. That's next week. That's not a Patreon exclusive, by the way. Anyways, we'll get into the last topic. Stay tuned.